Hey everyone, it's Monday and time for another Monday Mastery live at 5. And I'm your host and dating coach, Rick Sodebeer. And we'll wait for just a couple of seconds while people log in. And today is a travel day. I've left Michigan. I'm in a motel in Des Moines, and it's working my way back to Texas. I have an event in Kansas City tomorrow, so I'll be in Kansas City tomorrow for most of that. Then on to Oklahoma and to where will I be? Then down to Texas, where it's a little bit warmer. And as you can see, I'm not dressed. I'm dressed for travel. I just got here and just got checked in, and I'm getting the all my connections made. So, and lighting is a little wonky tonight. So we'll just have to just play it by ear. So anyway, thanks for joining tonight. I'm glad you're here. If you want to, hey Addie, thanks for joining in. Glad you're here. Uh, if you have any questions, please feel free to shoot those in. It's I wanted to tonight's program. I wanted to share some ideas about the holidays, and it can be a difficult time. It can be hard to cope through the holidays. Loneliness is it just and depression tends to get to all of us. Hey Stephen, thanks for joining in. That's my buddy, my sailing buddy. Um, Last time I checked in, you were in Florida, and I think I was in Michigan. So, and it was 8 below when I got there. So, I'm looking forward to some 70 degrees, maybe low 80s later this week. So that'll be awesome. So, anyway, depression loneliness and sadness can just put a big damper on the holidays. Hey Nancy, thanks for joining in. And while there's not a there's there are some things that you can do, but a big part of it is just acknowledging your loneliness, your sadness, and understanding where it's coming from. And a lot of times we get blue for no apparent reason. And the key is to kind of dig into where these feelings are coming from. Is it because you're missing somebody? Is it because you can't be with family? Is it because you're single? Is it because uh, it's cold and this is a dark time of year? Literally, physically, where up north in Ironwood, where I was last week, by this time it is almost perfectly dark. And when we miss sunlight, that can bring a lot of depression into our lives, because we need that sunshine. So anyway, there are any number of reasons, but the one of the important factors is to step back and figure out why that is. And I've been listening to a good book on grief, and a lot of and some of our depression can be grief due to unhealed wounds, whether it comes from divorce or from being widowed or from a failed relationship, or something in our past that has not taken we haven't taken the time to heal. And the book is the Grief Recovery Handbook, and it comes from the Grief Recovery Institute, and they sponsor a lot of courses, a lot of classes around the country. So anytime you see grief recovery or a grief recovery program through your church or through some charitable organization, typically, it's a great resource to tap into, to work through some of the the things that you're dealing with. Addie says, let's see. Oh, my mother passed away right after Christmas years ago, and I get melancholy the start of December every year since. I have to take a step back and think why I'm feeling the way I do. I then can turn my mood around, and that's very important. But Addie, based on what I'm learning or what I've learned over the last couple of days from this book, there may be unsaid conversations that you wanted to have with your mother. There may be things that you wanted to say or and didn't get a chance to. And there are ways of working through that. I'd highly encourage you to pick up a copy of that book. I got it on Audible, so I've been listening to it most of the day and part of the way up to Michigan last week. And it really goes into some great steps to help work through some of this grief, that it may help take away some of the blues. So just some food for thought, Addie. That might be a Christmas present you give yourself. The book is called the Grief Recovery Handbook. And I'm not, I don't say that it will be the cure for your blues, because I know that there's a lot of things that we miss. When someone's passed on, the family members, the holidays are never quite the same. And the holidays have never been quite the same since my mother passed away, and that's 25 years ago. And it's not quite the same now that my dad has passed. It's I've become, in my family, part of the senior generation now, the oldest generation, and that can be a daunting thought. That we've always looked up to our parents, we've always looked up to our relatives, our grandparents, and they're gone. At least when you get to my age, they're gone. And so that can bring on a lot of blues through the holidays also. So we need to think about where those blues are coming from, or where the sadness or depression is coming from, and work our way backwards to try to work our way out of it. And it's I'm not here to say that you shouldn't get blue anytime, or you shouldn't shouldn't have sad thoughts about parents that have passed, or other family members, a spouse. Those things are always going to hit us. They're always going to be with us. But there are ways of mitigating the impact and working through some of the steps in the grief recovery. And I like the name of that book, because it's talking about recovery. It's talking about healing and growing and moving past. You're never going to give up the thoughts or the memories, especially the great memories. We all tend to hang on to great memories, and those are the things that we miss. And again, it's okay to get blue. It's not okay to get stuck there. It's not okay to linger there for long periods of time. And Nancy says, hey, Nancy, thanks for joining in. For me, it helps to reach out to others going through difficult times. Helping during tragedies make me realize my problem worry is so minimal compared to others. And that is so true. It's always beneficial to at least temporarily, to help others. And now if you've watched any news at all, you saw this past weekend the terrible devastation through Arkansas, Missouri, Tennessee, and Kentucky. There was just it's just it's just heartbreaking to see some of the carnage that tornado leveled upon the center part of the country. And those are the tornado victim. Nancy says tornado victims in her state of Kentucky, and so there. Those are things that you can do to help to help mitigate the loneliness or the sadness or the blues that you feel at this time of year. And if nothing else, just giving generously to the Red Cross or to any other charitable organization that that's going to be helping those folks in that area, because they really need it. I remember several years ago when Joplin, Missouri, was hit by a major tornado. As I recall, like about a third of the town was just destroyed, and it was awesome to watch the communities around the Joplin area come together to provide supplies, water, supplies, food, clothing, and all the things that we never really think about when we run into a disaster like that. When all that stuff just disappears. I mean, think all these victims. All these victims need clothes. They need shelter. They need food. They need water. There. And granted, I'm sure FEMA or the government agencies, state agencies are jumping in and probably have the Red Cross or National Guard called out to help police things and help clean things up. But this is a long process. And for this to happen, just 2 weeks before Christmas, wow, I just can't imagine losing everything. It's one thing for somebody like me to give up most everything and go to RV living, but for your life to be completely torn upside down and ripped apart at this time of year, at any time of year, is just incredibly inconceivable to me. I just can't imagine the devastation and the pain and the hurt that so many people are going through, and with all the loss of life so far. So if you're looking for ways to help minimize depression or blues, give to the Red Cross, give to organizations that are there helping. If you're close, maybe you can go in and volunteer. That I don't know how close you are, Nancy, but volunteering to put things together and or care packages, that would be an awesome. Bake Christmas cookies and send them to find an address that you can send them to in one of those cities or one of those towns that was hit hard by the tornado. Hey, Lonnie, thanks for joining in. And Lonnie says, "Hey, Rick, I like your opinions and advice." Well, thank you very much. I appreciate it. I'm glad to have you here. So, there are so many options, and one of the problems with getting down, with getting blue, with getting depressed is that it tends to be a downward spiral. It's kind of a black hole where our thoughts just keep getting darker and darker and darker, and we just don't see any light at the end of the tunnel. And the deeper you go into depression or sadness, the harder it is to literally claw your way out. So when you start catching yourself drifting into that mindset, it's important to immediately step back and start trying to identify where these feelings are coming from. Why is this happening, or why am I feeling this way? And if it starts to get really dark, if you start sinking really deep, that's when it's time to ask for help. There are times that when you, especially with depression, It's so important to reach out and ask for help, and you know, to be able to move out of it. In light depression, light sadness, light, we can pick ourselves up by our bootstraps, go do something good for somebody else, but don't bury it. Don't bury it. Don't necessarily try to hide it, or to try to minimize whatever's going on in your life. Acknowledge those feelings, those thoughts. And again, if you're getting too dark or too depressed, reach out for help. There's plenty of places that can help you walk through it. There are helplines, and unfortunately I don't have any phone numbers right now. But all you have to do is do a quick Google search for depression hotlines, and they'll pop up everywhere. Let's see. Lonnie says, I've been sober for 6 years and gave it all to God. Life is so much happier with God as my guide. Oh, absolutely. And I found that same thing for myself, Lonnie, that the more I have God involved in my life, or the more I give to him and not try to take it back, the happier that I am also. And life just seems to be a little less stressful, a little easier when we can let go of all that pressure, and he watches over us. He's carrying us when we're going through our worst times. So anyway, that's, if any of you are really suffering, reach out to me. I will help connect you with somebody. I'll do some research for you and try to find somebody close that you can talk to, that's trained in this stuff. I can talk till I'm blue in the face, but I'm not trained in dealing with depression and sadness. I only know what I've done for myself, and I've never gotten really depressed. And there are times that I think, oh my gosh, this isn't worth it. In any stage of my life that but I've always been able to take a look and recognize that this isn't forever. This, whatever's going on in my life is only a temporary situation. It's just a chapter in the book of my life, and I hope that you all look at that pretty much the same way. So if you've got any questions about that, I'd be happy to try to answer whatever I can, and if not, guide you in the right direction. One of the other things I wanted to talk about, and this time, dating at this time of year can be a challenge. Although there are opportunities to go out, there are parties, there are social activities, all wrapped around. We just had Thanksgiving, and now Christmas and New Year's. There are great opportunities to get out and meet people and socialize. I know there are some of you that are very fearful about COVID, and I know that's got a lot of people crazy. But and you have to do what's comfortable for you. If going out and socializing is a difficult thing, you can always wear your mask, or if you're vaccinated, you can always go out and do your thing. But it's still so important to socialize, especially this time of year. And as Nancy pointed out, get out and do things for somebody else that's in more dire need than you are. There's so much that can be done. They may be close to done now, but you got the bell ringers for the Salvation Army, and I know they're always looking for bell ringers. If you want to go stand outside and just say hi to people and ring a bell for a couple of hours, that's an awesome way to get out and smile at somebody. And that brings up a circling back to being down. One of the best ways of bringing yourself out of that is to sit up and shoulders back, head high, and put a smile on your face. It will automatically change your mood. There's a biological connection there, or physiological connection. And when you put a smile on your face, your body, your brain automatically starts thinking, oh, he's smiling or she's smiling. Something's going on. Why are we happy? Or why is that smile there? There's got to be something good. And it's funny and that's just the way the brain works. And if I'm not mistaken, that's part of the reticular activating system, that you think something, or you put a smile on your face, and the brain starts working and looking for the positive and thinking the positive thoughts. So it's important to remember just to sit up and smile. When you get up in the morning, if you're feeling down, put a smile on your face. And even if you don't like it, even if it's you're just like, I'm just so grumpy, put a smile on your face, and you'd be surprised how your mood changes. And it changes just like that. It's just almost instantaneous. So, that's one of the easiest ways to to start changing your mood. And it's not difficult. And then, what you end up finding is that as you go through your day, if you start smiling at people for no reason, I on my trip today, there's a couple of times I would go through a drive-through and just wish the cashier Merry Christmas, and the person that hands me my food, Merry Christmas. And you'd be surprised at what that does for them. And then when you do something nice like that for somebody else, or say something nice to them, oh, you look nice, you look great today. Thanks for everything you do. And every time you see a soldier with a Vietnam veterans cap on, or and they're fewer and farther between now, but a World War II cap, or a Korean veterans cap, thank them. And it's you'd be surprised at how much they enjoy that, how good it makes them feel. And they'll always turn around and say, it was my pleasure, thank you. It's a great way to just pass on some joy. And it doesn't take any significant effort. And Sharon says, "Hi, Rick. I agree with some of the things you're saying. Great. Glad you. And by the way, glad you're here, Sharon. Glad to see you're here. So there are just so many simple ways of changing your attitude and bringing yourself up. And a lot of that is by bringing other people up, bringing up their spirits. And for me, I love to make people smile. I'll crack a joke with somebody as I'm walking. And one of my favorites, and I just love this line. You walk past somebody and say, "Excuse me," and as you walk by and they'll say something like, "Oh, you're fine." And I say, "Why, thank you. So are you." And you would be surprised the looks and the giggles and the laughs that you get. It's just funny little. It's just fun little playful stuff that you can do with people. And if you're not comfortable with it, just try it. Just say hi and smile, and wish somebody a Merry Christmas, or a Happy New Year, or Happy Holidays, or Happy Hanukkah, or whatever your whatever's going on. So there are a number of ways of just bringing yourself out of a funk. So, but if you're really deep in a funk, check out the book, Grief Recovery. It's the Grief Recovery Handbook. It really is a good book, especially if you've lost a spouse, or if you're still grieving from a nasty divorce, some of those things. Anyway, let's move on to the next topic. I didn't have that in the outline today, but one of the things I received a comment from somebody. Hey, Glenn, thanks for joining in. Hey, Crystal, thank you. Let's see. Crystal says, I find it funny that you're talking about this, as this is what I posted on my Facebook page today. Start every day with love in your heart and a warm smile in your soul. Don't let anyone or anything steal your sparkle. Oh, that's awesome. Have a great day and live your life in love, light, and positivity. That's an awesome post, Crystal. Thanks for sharing that. I like that. And that's exactly right. And that's just exactly what I've been talking about. And, and part of the reason this topic came up is because this is the time of year that traditionally is a very difficult time of year for so many people. Whether they're alone or whether... And that brings up another thing. If you know somebody that's alone, go knock on the door, give them a call and talk to them. Lonnie says, I'm making Christmas cards for the elderly folks at the nursing home. They don't get many visitors, and they love to hear from people. Oh, that's awesome, Lonnie. I love that. This year is kind of a bummer for me because normally I'm busy at this time of year baking Christmas cookies and getting the last of those out. And this year, because I've transitioned from... and Jerry, I think you had said hi, and I just dawned on me. I skipped over that, Jerry, in Florida. I'm glad you're here. But I transitioned to RV life this year, and I don't have a big enough oven to do baking, and I have to send a Christmas card with a letter that says, "I'm sorry, I haven't got cookies this year," and they'll all understand. But I did that one year for my clients as a financial advisor, and I didn't do it the following year, and a couple of them felt slighted because they thought maybe they'd done something wrong that they didn't get Christmas cookies. So when you start a tradition, Lonnie, you might want to make sure you can keep going with it. But anyway, Lonnie, that is awesome. I'm so glad that you're doing that. This conversation, I've been trying to veer off of this one now for the last 10 minutes, and I think maybe we'll get this on the record. One of the things that I had a message from somebody over the weekend that they're just getting back into dating, and they've only been dating for a couple of months, and I don't have a big background story on her yet. We're going to talk again probably after Christmas. But the gist of it is that again, she's a widow, and she's just getting back into the dating world. And she dated a guy for a couple of months, and all of a sudden, things just kind of crumbled. He wasn't honest with her. He wasn't forthright with what his intentions were. And it wasn't that he had nefarious intentions. It's just he didn't have that much interest, but he was afraid of hurting her feelings and in essence led her to believe that there was more there to this relationship than there actually was. So, she was frustrated with that and hurt, and I totally get that, because she's just getting back into it after quite a few years, and to have that happen right out of the box, it can be devastating. It makes you question what you're doing, and what do I have to do to for someone to be honest with me, and it almost makes her feel like she did something wrong, but she didn't. From what I can tell so far, she did nothing wrong. It was his fault for not being honest and forthright and forthcoming. So, whenever you start dating, make sure that you're that you're in the right mindset and can share your honest feelings. If it's not a good relationship for you, if it's not a good fit, it doesn't doesn't make the other person a bad person. It just means they're the wrong one. And be able to share that with whoever you're dating or whoever you're seeing. Now, it's much easier after just a date or two that saying, yeah, I'm just not feeling a connection. But even after a month or two, you still have to fess up. You still have to say, yeah, this just is Nancy. I'll use Nancy because her name is right here. Nancy, I'm just not feeling a great connection. And these are never easy conversations to have, but when you're honest and straightforward, they go much easier than trying to string somebody along and for maybe weeks at a time. You're just playing with somebody's emotions, and so you have to learn if you're going to date date intentionally. And when you date intentionally, you are going to be straightforward with your partner. No kind of dancing around subjects, and you need to learn to be able to have serious conversations. You need to learn how to have important conversations, or as I like to call them, adult conversations, where you can tell somebody what you're thinking, what you're feeling, and not be so sensitive to their feelings or yours that your message gets buried in just a mixed signal message. Lonnie says, hey, Rick, if you travel to Nashville, look me up for coffee and conversation. Yeah, absolutely, Lonnie. That would be great. It'll be a little while because I'm headed to Texas after that, and I'm planning on spending Texas there, but maybe in the spring I can circle that way. It'd be nice to do some traveling and see some parts of the country that I haven't seen. So thank you for the offer, Lonnie. I appreciate it. Thanks for being here. So there's the other part of this conversation is don't let a bad experience dissuade you from continuing on. And again, that's what intentional dating is all about. And I've just really become focused on helping people become intentional. And when you are intentional, you're doing things for a specific purpose. You're looking for your soulmate or your extraordinary relationship. If you don't believe in soulmates, personally, I do. And there's a long story behind it. But when I discovered my soulmate, or that soulmates exist, it was an awesome experience. Glenn says, thanks for speaking to us single people. Holidays are hard. Merry Christmas. Thank you, Glenn. I appreciate it. Merry Christmas to you too. And here again, dating becomes hard through the holidays because there seems to be a lot of couples, and we all want to be in that extraordinary relationship, but it's not always easy. And it takes time to find that extraordinary person. And you just have to understand that if you're not in a relationship right now, it's just God's timing. He may have things that he wants you to work on, or things that he needs you to get better at, and he's working on your soulmate too. And then at the right time, you come together and say, oh wow, now I know why none of these other relationships work. Because the fit, the relationship just becomes so much easier. It doesn't mean you're never going to argue, or you're never going to upset your partner, or you're not going to step on their toes or say something stupid that upsets them. Because we all are who we are, and we say and do things that are going to upset others, and we may be clueless. But that's how we learn, and sometimes we just have to make a mistake here and there and find out. But when you're in that extraordinary relationship, those things are very short lived, and they're not used against you as a club, that comes back to you 6 months or a year later, and you get beat up for something you said a long time ago. and that happens to both of us, ladies. I'm not picking on you, because I know guys that do the same thing. It's just we there's human nature. There's just a certain level of stupidity there that sometimes we just don't know when to stop talking. So anyway, part of what I'm trying to get at here is don't quit. Don't let a bad I don't want to say a bad relationship. It wasn't bad. It was just a misleading relationship. But a bad experience. Don't let a bad experience sour you to the whole process of dating. Dating is a numbers game ultimately, and it's about finding that extraordinary or that needle in a haystack relationship. And you can't do that if you give up. Especially if you're just getting started again. You've got to build some resilience to your dating skin, I guess. You got to get a little bit thick-skinned. And none of us really wants to do that, but it's part of what has to be done when you're looking for extraordinary. If you're dating intentionally, you're going to get knocked down from time to time. You're going to get disappointed, or you have to expect to be disappointed. But if you're dating intentionally, you have to understand that, or you will come to an understanding that not everybody is going to be your soulmate. I've told the story a number of times that when I was new in online dating, and I'm thinking, and some people had told me this, so it kind of went to my head. Said, you'd be a great catch for anyone. And I'm scrolling through and thinking, yeah, I'd be a great catch for any one of these women. And then it just dawned on me that, well, wait, if these women aren't a great catch for me, what makes me think that I would be a great catch for any one of them? And that's when it hit me that we're not going to be a good catch for everyone. We only have to be a great catch for one person, for someone, not everyone. And we should be looking for that needle in a haystack relationship. And I know I beat that drum seriously, because that's what it takes to find extraordinary. It's not just going to happen, by dating 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people. It's just not going to happen. I mean, the odds are so against that happening. Can it? Absolutely. If you happen to be at the right place at the right time, and in the right clothes, and the whatever it is. But it's just not typical. As they say on some of the infomercials, these results are not typical. So, you have to expect to go on a lot of dates. There's it's just a matter of whittling down. And each time you have a date that ends up being the wrong one, or date somebody that's the wrong one, that's one step closer to finding the right one. But you have to be willing, number one, to admit they're not the right one. You have to take that step, and you have to be just forthright and say, yeah, I'm sorry. I'll pick on Crystal this time. Crystal, I'm sorry, but, I'm just not feeling a connection. Or you might feel a great connection, and they're not feeling it. So you end up with a one-sided connection, or a one-sided relationship. And you have to be very careful about those, because they, the person that cares the least has all the power. They're the ones that are going to, you're going to want to do things, or want to see the relationship go further. And they're going to put no effort in. So you're the one that's going to be putting in all of the effort. And when you have to put in all the effort, you got to start thinking right away. You've got to observe what they're doing, or what they're willing to do to make the relationship work, or to promote the relationship. And if they're just sitting back and letting you do everything, letting you cook all the meals or letting you make all the plans, or, then you got to ask, hey, what's going on here? Is this one-sided? And more than likely it is. So you have to recognize that, yeah, okay, as much as I like you and as much as I think I love you, if it's not the right relationship, it's not going to work, because they're not going to give you what you need out of the relationship. You can only give so much until your love tank is empty. So that's some food for thought. But don't give up. Especially early on, there's always bumps and hurdles and stuff that we have to get around, or go through. Walls that we have to crash through or tear down to keep moving. And there are going to be times that it's, this is brutal. I don't want to do this anymore. When you get to that point, just stop for a little while. Don't quit. Just take a break. Take a vacation from dating. But make sure you do everything in the dating world intentionally. If you're not doing it intentionally, you're going to run the risk of unintended consequences. If you're dating haphazardly and you're not crystal clear about what you want in your next relationship, if you're not crystal clear about what your boundaries are or what your deal breakers are, you're going to spend an awful lot of time with the wrong people and in the wrong relationships, that it could actually be toxic relationships for you. It doesn't make any difference how much you may love them. If it's a toxic relationship, it's not a relationship you belong in, because eventually it's going to do great psychological damage to you. So, you just have to date smart. You have to date intentionally. Know what you want. Know what you don't want. And then you can move forward from there. And when you know what you want and what your deal breakers are, it's so much easier, because at that point, you can have a date or two, and you see that they don't have all the qualities that you like. They may have a couple of great qualities that you add to your list of must-haves. But if they don't have everything that you're looking for, then you're just whistling I've got a couple of analogies in mind here, a couple of sayings, but I can't use them. So anyway, so the idea is to be conscious, to be thinking about this stuff, and love is always one of those things that we always get a little gaga over the emotions. We get infatuated, and that runs away with our emotions, and we start doing dumb things. But when you're dating intentionally, you can step back from the infatuation and raging hormones. And I'm not just talking about, when I say raging hormones, I'm not just talking about sex. There is literally hormones that are raging through your body when you start to connect with somebody, and it causes you to connect on a much deeper level. Oxytocin, serotonin, dopamine. These are all parts of the hormonal system that cause us to connect to other people. So you have to be careful. And when you're dating intentionally, you can put the stop to some of the poor relationships, or the relationships that are just not a good fit, long before you get too emotionally connected to someone. So anyway, those are some thoughts for today. I hope this has been helpful for you all. And again, I hope, for those of you that are suffering the blues, the first thing you do in the morning, in fact, even before you go to bed tonight, when you're standing in front of the mirror brushing your teeth tonight, try to put a smile on your face while you're brushing your teeth. And go to bed with a positive attitude. Then when you wake up, it'll be easier to stand up in front of the mirror and put a smile on your face. And then just one step after another, it will help you to move forward through the day and knock back some of those blues. But again, if you're really struggling, if you really have problems, just reach out for help. Just don't be afraid. There's nothing to be ashamed of if you can't deal with it on your own. There's so many resources for all of us out there if we need them. So don't be afraid to ask. There's no shame there. And then don't quit. When it comes to dating, don't quit until you find your extraordinary relationship or your soulmate relationship. It's so few of us have ever experienced extraordinary. In fact, most of us have never experienced extraordinary or a soulmate relationship, and so we don't know. But what I can tell you is that once you start to experience somebody that's extraordinary or an extraordinary mate, you'll never want to experience a mediocre relationship again. So anyway, I hope this has been helpful. If you need additional help or resources, check out my book, Dating Backward: A Practical Guide to Dating and Finding Your Soulmate. We talk about helping you develop your own personal must-have list and deal-breaker lists. We talk about creating great communication within a relationship. We teach you what toxic relationships look like and how to spot them much more quickly so you can avoid them and avoid wasting time in those relationships. So anyway, you can go to my website at ricksoderbeer.com or under resources, and you can go to Amazon. It's either in paperback or their e-reader, their Kindle. So it's available in both spots there. It's a great Christmas present for yourself. Set yourself up for a new year in dating and dating intentionally. So anyway, I hope you have a great week. I know I'm looking forward to getting back to Texas and some warmer weather. And if you have any questions in the meantime, shoot me a message, shoot me a text, and we'll roll from there. Have a great and blessed week, everyone. I love you guys. Thanks for being here. And it's good to see some of you guys here. Glenn, Lonnie, who else was here? I think that was you guys were the only guy. Oh, Steven. Yeah, Steven. I knew there was somebody else. And Nancy, Jerry, Addie, thank you. Crystal. So thanks for your comments, and I will see you next week. I will probably be in Texas. So see you all next week. Have a good one. Love you guys.